All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the launch of the Global Youth Energy Outlook today. We'll get going in just a second. We have people who are joining us kind of as we speak, so I'll do some intros and we can get started rolling on the presentation. A couple of important notes. This call is being recorded, so if you don't want to appear on the call or on the recording, please do keep your cameras off. It's up to you. And we also want to let you know that this is a group Zoom meeting and not a webinar. So we do ask you to stay on mute unless you're speaking, just so we can eliminate any audio clashes. But yeah, great to see everybody. Thanks so much for joining. Let me just share my screen really quick. Oh, my name is Shakti. I'm the Senior Director of Policy and Communications at Student Energy. So I lead our newly emerging research and youth engagement portfolio, as well as our digital communications team. Great. Hopefully that is visible. And for folks who are joining, if you want to drop in the chat where you're joining from, your name, that would be great. It would be great to get a sense of who we have in the room today. So yeah, just feel free to go ahead and drop it in the chat. And maybe as you're doing that, I will turn it over to Helen Watts, our Executive Director, to get us started. We'll dive right in with a little bit of a history and overview of the Outlook project, so that whether you're familiar with the project, this will be a nice recap. If it's totally new to you, hopefully this will be a great introduction to the project. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Helen, but please do keep introducing yourself in the chat as you join. Over to you, Helen.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Shakti. And just to clarify, my sound is coming through okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for being here. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Helen Watts. I'm the Executive Director at Student Energy, and also have the distinct honor of having first really conceptualized of this project idea way back in the day. It feels like an age ago now. And since then, the project has really become a shared vision and initiative by so many people who have been an integral part of making this project happen. So I really struggle to actually think of how I can take any credit for it anymore, because it very much feels like it's been kind of taken on into a life of its own, which is what everybody should really look for in a project. And so really delighted here to share a little bit of context as to how it first got started, what really inspired us to take on something of this size and magnitude, kind of looking at some of the institutions who are really seen as the biggest players when it comes to things like energy outlooks and reports in the climate and energy space. You know, Student Energy arguably is quite small in comparison, and even more so as a youth-led organization. Youth-led organizations are often not seen as the organizations really putting out these types of documents and being able to survey and you know, really kind of source material at the scale of some of the larger research institutions we see. And so we were very much aware of that when we started conceptualizing of this project. And it was actually really a driver of us wanting to take this on and really prove that youth-led work and youth-led organizations should really be doing the work in the space to bring together the collective vision and call to action from young people around the world, and with as much representation at as many levels as possible as well, to really bring a really clear picture of what young people are asking for and what their priorities are, recognizing that we too often hear from a select few voices in these spaces where young people are already less heavily represented. So that's kind of some of the more, I guess, ethos-based motivations behind it. But looking actually back and more of a timeline basis of how this got started. So back in 2019, I was still, I think I was our Director of Partnerships at the time at Student Energy, 25 years old, 2019. It was kind of the peak of quite a lot of activities around energy pre-global pandemic. And we were seeing things like Sustainable Energy for All was hosting this Charrette series. We had the UN Climate Action Summit being hosted by the UN Secretary General in September. All of these events with, you know, Glasgow was hosting COP, was hosting the upcoming COP. All of these events that felt like huge milestone moments where young people were just really trying to get in the room and be heard. And so when I first went to the Tourette's, the Sustainable Energy for All Tourette's back in June 2019, I ended up being in this group that was really focused on data and evidence gaps in the energy space and looking at, what information do we just not have that will help us to better understand what we need to do to get on track to achieving Sustainable Development Goal 7 by 2030. And why is it not happening? We just didn't have information. And there's many kind of different segments of the energy transition in which there's information missing. But for me, being the only young person in the room at the time, I realized right away that for me, what I'm challenged with is bringing information about what young people want. I can speak on behalf of my perspective, and I can speak in broad terms about what we're hearing from our network, but in this really data-backed, robust way, we were missing the magnitude of what young people were asking for from an energy transition across the board and globally. And so started really kind of percolating, what would we need to do? What could we do with Student Energy's network of, I think at this point, definitely over 100,000 young people that we reach. And I know over 1 million every year with our digital tools, but how can we really leverage that network and pull together perspectives of young people in a really holistic way to better understand what young people want from leaders, actors, government, private sector, other NGOs to make changes to make our energy transition happen in a just, equitable, and sustainable way. So fast forward a couple of months and it's September, and we're, to Shakti and myself, we're at the UN Climate Action Summit in New York in September. They have a whole energy transition track. We've been pulled in as a key partner, which was a huge moment for us. We were really excited, but really also thinking, like, how can we leverage this platform? How can we use this space that we've had unique access to call for something quite significant, call for a change in this space? And we ended up, fairly audaciously, I think, reflecting back, decided this is the moment where we're going to announce that we are doing the Global Youth Energy Outlook. We had at that point no plans. We had nothing figured out. What we had was our core motivations and Student Energy's core approach, our youth empowerment model. We knew that if we were going to do a project like this, it was going to be youth-led, youth-driven, and importantly, led by young people from the regions in which we were gathering these perspectives as well. So we decided to go on stage and make this announcement. We were going to pull together the largest report the world has ever seen of youth perspectives on energy. And right away, kind of getting off stage, we were approached by one individual, Ditlev Engel, who at the time was Denmark's special envoy for climate and energy, who was just like blown away by this vision, really came to us and was like, this could make a huge difference. What we're missing at the public and the private sector level is really understanding where people are at in this more inclusive and representative way. And really understanding what behavior changes are people willing to do, what are their priorities, just based on their own circumstances as well, really understanding how priorities shift depending on kind of where you're at in your life or what sector you're immersed in. So really that key data gap of just where are people at, and understanding this generation as the youth generation gives you every kind of organization or leader this ability to forecast planning and really ensure that energy transition action plans are aligned with what this generation is bringing into kind of the mainstream as core priorities and things that we want to see be part of this world. And so having that one champion, and Ditlev said, I'm going to support, let's put in the first in funding that you need to make this happen. And having that champion and that first in support was really all that we needed to get the gears turning and actually get the ball rolling for this project, which was super exciting for us because something that we always struggle with as a youth organization, and I can fairly confidently speak for most youth organizations as well working in this space, is just getting that first in support, that first in partner, that first in funding, that first in champion who's willing to open doors for you, ensure you have resources, provide you with the knowledge and expertise that you need. And later on, that would very much become Enel Foundation as well as our core knowledge partner for this project. And so I'm very excited to have them on today as well. And Shakti will provide a bit of a platform later on, but really want to underscore that this project was all about the youth empowerment model, the young people who've led it, and we're going to hear directly from some of those people and learn a little bit more about them, our regional coordinators. And it was very much enabled by the partners who are part of this project. And so we'll just take a moment to kind of look at the actual people who really made this project happen. We ran a recruitment process shortly after September, decided to actually start bringing in this team who would really drive the vision and the approach, the methodology for this project going forward and really feed into what this regional engagement strategy needed to look like. And so we ran a recruitment process. I think we got close to 100 applications. We ended up selecting these incredible 12 individuals. We initially, I think, planned on recruiting 10, expanded the scope because we just saw so much potential and there was so much kind of passion and enthusiasm to be a part of it. And these regional coordinators subsequently brought in teams of country level coordinators as well. So we really took this very kind of local, regional centric approach to the project, which I think has really added to the value that you'll get from all of the data that we put together, in particular the regional insights. And so moving forward, maybe one slide, again, to kind of really underscore the timing of all of this. It feels like it moved quite quickly in 2019, but then of course we moved into this global pandemic state. And we also just started learning a lot about what it takes to launch a project of this size. As an organization, we had never done a research project before. It was quite new for us. We were trying to make it this very kind of inclusive approach as well, where we were feeding in input from all sides, really trying to make sure that it felt collectively owned and shaped and delivered. And so when we got started, we quickly realized that this was going to be a much longer journey than we anticipated, but we leaned right into that. We saw a huge amount of opportunity and benefits that could come from just giving this project the time it deserved as well, and ensuring that we're really kind of making as many opportunities as possible to bring in additional partners to host the conversations that need to happen. So we really kicked off the project in 2020. This was when we got our resources secured. We had our regional coordinators. We really started kind of hitting the ground. And the first phase was to hold 25 regional dialogues. These were very focused on actually having, beyond the surveying that was happening, having these more kind of rich, dynamic conversations with people to really understand where they were at on some of the more nuanced issues that are part of the energy transition. And that's added a huge amount of depth to the final report that you'll see. We then presented the Global Youth Energy Outlook at the Clean Energy Ministerial in July 2021. So we started to socialize the initial findings, some of the kind of first insights that we were able to pull together and share. And then we hit a milestone of actually engaging close to 42,000 young people aged 18 to 30 in 129 countries. So we blew past our goals of country-based reach. We really engaged way more people than I think we ever thought that we could, but we did set the bar high for ourselves as well. Young people tend to be quite ambitious, and we had this belief that we could do it. And it was really surreal, but I think really validating at the same time to see that that could happen. And we continued to bring those insights into different spaces to new audiences. At the Innovate for Cities conference in October 2021, we brought another round of insights, but focused a little bit more on these localized insights we were getting, because we realized, I think, as we all know, that energy transition action needs to happen at all levels and at all scales. And so making sure that there was this local city government level focus and awareness of the Global Youth Energy Outlook was always something that was really important to us as well. We then got an incredible feature in the IEA's recommendations of the Global Commission on People-Centered Clean Energy Transitions. And so for us, again, another kind of moment of, wow, kind of pinch me. We're actually starting to get really included in some of these larger, more well-known kind of reports from these big institutions that carry a lot of kind of name recognition in this space, where we really didn't see ourselves in the same space, but our work is starting to get really validated. And I think there's also this kind of recognition and reckoning happening around better understanding and connecting with youth in this space. We then launched the Global Youth Energy Outlook at COP26 in Glasgow in November, and that was a big moment because we were able to actually bring some of the regional coordinators there in person to really share from their own experiences. We brought some of our partners on stage as well to ensure that there was really this kind of dynamic conversation about how the Global Youth Energy Outlook insights would be used in practice by real leaders and young people operating in this space. And then here we are today, of course, with the final reports and toolkits being launched. And so we're so excited to share all of that with you today. I don't know if I have one more slide, but we'll maybe move ahead here. Yeah, definitely the partnerships. The partners is really what made the Global Youth Energy Outlook happen. I would say kind of in equal parts, the regional coordinators and the youth-led approach and our partners. It really is so critical for actors to come in and support in a variety of different ways youth-led work and youth perspectives in this space beyond just tokenistic engagement that we too often still see. And these partners of the Global Youth Energy Outlook are really a testament to how to do that youth support and meaningful youth engagement the right way, coming in and being available for advice, mentorship, knowledge exchange, resources, just the real resources to make a project happen. and really, valuing the work. That's the most important element here, is actors really taking this work seriously, taking youth seriously, seeing them as partners, not as beneficiaries of decisions that are being made, and recognizing the importance of including their voices and perspectives in planning that we're doing today. So with that, I think I've talked way over my time, so I will very happily hand it, I believe it's over to Ailette next, to share some resources with you all. But again, thank you so much for being here today, and very excited to hear from the rest of the incredible roster of speakers we have lined up, and looking forward to sharing these resources with you all.
Hello, everyone. Here I'm Ailette from, I'm a communication associate, and I'm happy to share how you can access to the report, the toolkits, and its resources. So everything is available on the website, and you can access to it by just putting the URL in your browser. You can also access through the Student Energy website under the research section, and within the website and the toolkits and the report, there is also a lot of links available that goes through the whole PDF file. So yeah, like the website has everything, and also the reports are linked to each other.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ailette. And thank you, Helen, for the history and overview of the project since all the way from 2020. So we'll drop the link to the report in the chat quickly. But before we move on to some of our guest presentations, I will give you a little sneak peek of what the report looks like, what's in there, what are some of the key statistics from the report. And then after that, we're really excited to hear from some of our regional coordinators who led much of the work in developing the survey, developing the report, and in most crucially doing the outreach to thousands of youth around the world. And yeah, so let's get started. I will share some of the key stats from the report, but of course the report has a lot more. All right. So some key highlights, these are sort of our headline findings from the report. We knew that young people have such diverse perspectives around the world, but we also wondered where did they share similarities? Where were the synergies globally? And I think to no one's surprise, we found that a majority of young people, almost 73%, indicated that they are concerned or very concerned about pollution and emissions caused by our current global energy system. And the overwhelming majority of our respondents in the report believe that energy and climate change are equally, if not more important, relative to other global issues like healthcare, education, cost of living, and gender equality, because it's so intertwined with all of these major issues. We also asked young people in the survey, what do they see as the biggest barriers to achieving the sustainable energy transition? And the majority of respondents, almost 40% of youth respondents, identified government willpower, policies, and regulations as the current biggest barrier. And it was kind of a far and away first choice, followed by economic conditions, the state of the current energy industry, or public and community support as the next biggest barriers to achieving the sustainable energy transition. So these all can be found in our global insight section, where we found where young people do share similarities all over the world. These are some of our other global insights that you can find right after the executive summary in our report. A majority of young people do want to see their country set a decarbonization target for their energy system, with many of them saying 2050 might be a little too late and 2030 might be a more urgent deadline. About half of young people who we surveyed expressed that their country's government needs to invest more in fighting climate change, with about 12% feeling that their government has made no investment at all. And the next piece, we asked who out of all of the stakeholders that are part of the energy system, that are part of our governments, who should fund the transition to net zero emissions? And about 46.2%, the majority, the largest response, indicated that maybe taxing companies that produce emissions would be the best way to fund the transition to net zero. And final global insight I'll share is that 48.1%, so almost half of all of the 42,000 young people surveyed, indicated that they've never been asked for their perspective on the energy sector by anyone, whether it's a university, a government, a industry. So I think that's quite a striking finding, and all the more reason that research like this is so necessary to gather and amplify youth-led perspectives on energy. We'll also share, I won't read through all of these statistics, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the kinds of information and perspectives you can find in the report. We asked young people about their perspectives on lots of different stakeholders in the energy system, including government and business and industry, not only what they believe these stakeholders are doing now, but also what they can do to reach net zero by 2050. And what priorities young people think these stakeholders should be setting, whether it's on the government side, things like new regulations, strengthening environmental policies, incentivizing energy efficiency and conservation, or on the business and industry side, really asking business to cooperate with government on decarbonization, to create internal policies to reduce company emissions, or to really commit to becoming carbon neutral or carbon negative. And we hope that having youth perspectives on each of these individual stakeholders makes it really actionable for these stakeholders to understand what are young people thinking, how do young people perceive our sector, and how can we more meaningfully work with young people to achieve these shared priorities. And another striking statistic is, unfortunately, only a minority of young people believe that there are currently meaningful opportunities for young people to engage with policymakers or businesses on sustainable energy issues in their country or territory. And even fewer believe that their perspectives are actually valued by policymakers or businesses. So I think this shows perhaps the need not just for engagement and consultation, which definitely exists, but also for any perspectives that are provided by youth to actually truly be valued and followed through with. So I think, and that this is another statistic I think that shows that young people are ready to engage, but are really asking that stakeholders do value their perspectives. And this is just a sneak peek into our 10 chapters in the Outlook. So all of what I've shared so far are our global insights that really synthesize and summarize what young people globally believe about the energy system or about climate change. But there are also 10 additional chapters in the report. Every chapter focuses on a particular region around the world. We tried to cover really as much of the world as possible, understanding, of course, it's always impossible. But each of these regional chapters has its own section, each introduced by a foreword by a regional coordinator, some of whom you'll hear from today. And each regional chapter also has a highlight of interesting findings that were particular to that region. And this was really important for us to create. We spent a long time developing these chapters because I think sometimes young people are perceived as a monolith, that youth around the world think the same, value the same things, prioritize the same things. And while they do share many of the same urgency towards addressing climate change, there are also really important regional differences in how you want to see the energy transition play out in their communities. So each of these regional chapters highlights what those differences are, the unique priorities that young people have in each region that are informed by the energy system in that region. So we hope you'll check out the chapters, not just for your own region, but maybe some of the other regions as well, just to see where there might be opportunities for collaboration or stark differences. I think it's really valuable to understand the diverse perspectives that young people bring. Also, just big shout out to our designers for these graphic design covers. I really love them. Hope you do too. These are all available on the studentenergyoutlook.org website, where you can download the full report. So with that, I will close just sharing the key data from the Outlook. I'd love to turn it over to some of our regional coordinators who have joined us on the call today to share a few reflections. Regional coordinators led the development and outreach for this project 2.5 years ago, so quite a while ago, and have been working with us since to provide their contributions for the report, to review the report, and have been championing the project all the way through. So we are lucky to have a few of them join us today. I'll ask them to unmute and share just a few reflections from their experience, what it was like leading the project, anything they'd like to share with the audience, what they've learned from the project in the past couple of years. I'll start with Paola, if that's okay, and Faisal, I'll have you up to share next, but feel free to just unmute and share your experience, and I'll turn it over to Paola.
Thank you. Hi, nice to meet you to everyone. Hola. Hi. Did you know? Well, my name is Paula. I'm from Bolivia. I was the Latin America Regional Coordinator in 2020. It was a real adventure to build it and to be part of it. But did you know that over 50% of youth in Latin America believe that government, willpower, policies, and regulations are the most significant barriers to achieving a sustainable energy transition? Until recently, I think that it was extremely difficult to gather the authentic voices and concerns of young people regarding the energy situations in their countries. Why? I think it's because we lack of genuine and formal spaces to share our thoughts and ideas to shape the future of the energy. However, I think that the global youth energy outlook has changed this landscape during these last years. I think that leading the process in Latin America was incredible because we united forces, we expanded our outreach to involve more youth in our countries, we established connections with universities, with different regional and global organizations, also with other youth and social organizations, as well as individuals, building energetic network focused on answering the questionnaire that we had on live. Moreover, we organized regional dialogues where we explored the diverse energy realities in our communities, and learning and exchanging these experiences make us more powerful. I think that these dialogues provide invaluable insights and energize us to return to our local and communities to take concrete actions to build a real change in the energy future of our countries. I think that for me, the outlook is not only the data that we had, but also a catalyst to transform the policies, investments, and the lives of people in the energy sector. I think the outlook is and will be a source of inspiration to drive more impactful actions in youth in our regions for the energy transition that we want. I think that it's time for us just to continue amplifying our voices, accelerating change, and creating a better future with the data that the outlook is giving us. I think that that was what I wanted to share. Over to you, Shakti. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula. And do follow all of our regional coordinators on social media, on LinkedIn. They're always doing amazing work and sharing lots of incredible content. So look them up. Next, I'll turn it over to Faisal for some remarks.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Thank you very much to you all who are on board for this exciting event. My experience as a regional coordinator in conducting the Outlook research and outreach in the Indian subcontinent region was just amazing. I would say I collected more than 5,000 responses from young people, and the responses collection and youth engagement was based on a substantial outreach plan. It basically focused on achieving an inclusive youth participation of diverse kind from a gender balance perspective, and followed by young people from both rural and remote communities with diverse socioeconomic and educational backgrounds, visible minorities, and young people with and without formal education. Initially, the outreach process was not less than a challenge because of engaging diverse groups of young people in 8 countries of my region. But then I plan to take certain connections with youth community leaders in respective countries, and hence I came up with a plan of recruiting country ambassadors. I recruited 22 country ambassadors who were youth community leaders, and that played basically a vital role in reaching out and ensuring diversity and inclusiveness. Secondly, I identified different regional universities and institutions and reached out to them and met them as outreach partners, and they too supported the outreach process and certainly helped in the participation of diverse young people with divergent socioeconomic and educational backgrounds. Also, I must say that social media helped me a lot to target different youth groups, which made my outreach more strong and broad in obtaining feedback to the Outlook questionnaire as well as regional dialogues. And I hope that the final report will act as a tool for young people to include their says and voices in their provincial and regional and national energy and climate policies. So I hope, and we will keep this report a live report and will update it in the coming times. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. And next, I'll turn it over to Ye and then over to Lynette after that. So over to you, Ye.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to, when I first joined GYEO in 2020, I'm the regional coordinator in the Greater China region. And I clearly remember that at the beginning, it was challenging for us to reach out to so many young people, but we managed to do so by expanding and promoting on our network, mostly on our social media in China. And also we recruited more than 50 volunteers in China region to reach out to their partner organizations, universities. So I want to give a big shout out to our the great works that our volunteers are able to do and reach out. And we also held 5 regional dialogues in our region, focusing on different areas. For example, like economics, policy, technology in different aspects, and we collected different opinions from the youth, and we compile all of this in the report. So welcome to read our report and know more insights from the China region. And also, since the launch of GYEO in 2020, it's actually the first year that China set decarbonized goal by 2050 in the future. So I found that really interesting that this trend was going in the same time. And actually, many of our youth in China even want the climate goal to be reached by even like in a quicker timeline in 2030. So I really found that interesting and really see the passion that in China region that hope to join this energy transition trend and reach our net zero carbon goal in the future quicker. And they also want more opportunities to collaborate with governments, with organizations, not just in China region, but also internationally. So really want to give out this trend and hope to see more collaborations in the future internationally. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ye, for sharing your calls to action and your reflections on this. And next, I'll turn it over to Lynette, who I believe is our final speaker, but if any other regional coordinators do want to speak up, you'll have a few minutes after Lynette as well. So go ahead, Lynette.
Hi, everyone. So nice to see so many people joining here today. My name is Lynette, or Lynette, depending on what you want to say. I'm from Denmark and had the huge privilege of being the regional coordinator for Europe for the Global Youth Energy Outlook. And it has been such a great experience. But I'm a sociologist by training, so I always say yes to any opportunity of kind of increasing inclusion in any sort of policy space, because that's what I'm really passionate about. And I think the Global Youth Energy Outlook is definitely a start, because it allows to include many more voices in the energy space than has traditionally been included, but I also think we face some challenges along the way that I really want to reflect on and share in case anyone gets inspired by the work we have done. Going into the project as the regional coordinator for Europe, I was immensely excited. I was like, oh yes, and this is going to be so exciting. We can finally like hear from so many young people from 28 different countries. The virtual format will work really well in terms of like getting out to as many countries as possible. But then I'd completely forgotten the language barrier that might exist in a continent where not everyone speaks English as their native language, where there are like, where we have the EU, where there are like 3 kind of common languages. So I think in the beginning we had our survey, mainly like survey questionnaire, mainly in English, but we ended up like translating it into multiple languages. And I think that was a necessity in order to reach as many young people as we really wanted to, and to ensure that it was also a broader diversity, like a broader pool of young people that we would actually reach. Because if we had stuck to an English questionnaire, my worry would have been that we would mainly reach the well-educated, the people who might actually be able to access these sort of like policy spaces in other ways. And I think that's a massive learning, both for like doing this again, but also to kind of start rethinking, as we heard Shakti say, a lot of young people don't feel they're like included in a meaningful way. So I think it's a massive learning for kind of also rethinking broader policy spaces, like how can we actually make sure that more people are included? Is it necessary to have translators? Is it necessary to kind of rethink the formats of them, just to ensure like wide variety of young people being able to attend?
Excellent. Thank you so much, Linda Schwab, for that very important reflection. I think the Outlook survey was translated into 9 languages, but of course there's so much more that I think all of us need to do, and all of our institutions need to do, to be able to communicate with young people in a language they feel comfortable with, so that they can truly convey their perspectives. So thank you very much. Would any other regional coordinators on the call like to speak? You're welcome to just unmute and chime in for a couple of minutes. And if not, I'm happy to move on too.
Hi, Shakti. If it's okay, I just wanted to leave a very quick reflection. So hello, everyone. It's so nice to see so many people joining, and see so many coworkers that, you know, I've worked with the last couple of years that I haven't seen, and just be able to have this report, you know, come full circle. It's incredible to see. So my name is Tiana Filippo. I was the regional coordinator for North America, and I'm located in Canada, specifically rural Manitoba. And I just wanted to leave really quick reflection and just say, like, this is a global initiative that was youth-led. And I think something that I kind of forget is, you know, we all got, like Helen mentioned, like this kind of started 2019, which was before the global pandemic. And during that time, a lot of climate initiatives were halted. And, you know, during that time, we kind of think about like maybe decreased in some environmental focuses. But we were able to achieve this and get this report together and do this incredible work while there was a lot of global uncertainty. And I think that's a really important part or point to, you know, mention and highlight, that, you know, us youth are, when there's so much stuff going on, like, we know that this is really important global work. And another thing is, like, climate change does not see borders. And what I thought was really interesting was working with youth, and how not only were they really interested to communicate what was going on in their specific region, but also learn about what's going on in other countries across the world. Because like what you'll see in the report is, it's all very different, and it's all like equally important in achieving a equitable global transition for clean energy. And so I just want to say thank you so much, and thank you everyone who is joining, and thank you for letting me have a quick reflection. Appreciate it. Marcy.
Of course. Thank you, Tiana, for your contribution throughout the project and today. If that's everybody on the regional coordinators, I'm very excited to also introduce a special guest for today. Let me just share my screen really quick. So as you may have heard earlier in the presentation, Enel Foundation has been our knowledge partner throughout the report, and we were so thrilled to have them on board as a knowledge partner because we really believe in the value of intergenerational collaboration when it comes to a project of this magnitude, and I think really demonstrating how young people and established leading institutions can work together even in the course of developing this project. So we are very happy to have Enel Foundation as a champion throughout the report. And today we're really thrilled to welcome Dr. Carlo Papa as a special guest to make some remarks. Dr. Papa is Managing Director of Enel Foundation. He holds a Master's of Science in Economics, a PhD in Management Engineering, and the Triumph MBA jointly issued by NYU Stern, LSE, and HEC. He started his professional career in IBM Ireland and in the UK, and was then hired by Enel Distribuzione, the Italian DSO, in 1997, and then joined the Corporate Strategic Planning Department. Dr. Papa founded and co-managed the company Corporate Venture Fund, the biggest in Europe at that time, with over $500 million under management. He more recently served as Chief Innovation Officer of Enel Green Power, and from April 2015 has served as the Managing Director of Enel Foundation. He is also a board member of ARISE, the UNISDR Private Sector Alliance for Disaster Resilient Societies. And I'm very excited to welcome him today to share his reflections on the report and on the project. So over to you, Dr. Papa.
Hello, good evening, good morning, everyone. Let's start from intergenerational. I am the oldest in Enel Foundation, but you have colleagues on the call that are as young as you, so don't get scared. I will be very brief. First of all, I wish to congratulate all of you for this report. I think it has been a very serious exercise with an interesting outcome. My hope is that it will become a more powerful tool going ahead. I mean, you can grow this after bigger and make more impact. It's already very useful for the benefit of youth themselves, for all of you to clarify to yourself and to the world what you need, what you want, which are your desire, ambition, and willingness that sometimes are heard by companies, institutions, but unfortunately, from what I see, are not taken very seriously when there are investment plans to be made. So it's very important not only to speak a big conference for 2 minutes, but also to write down what essentially youth want. And it's also very important for the benefit of educational institutions, because I feel some educational institutions have not yet heard well the message regarding, youth wish on the future of our planet. Some of the courses that are taught in university in my field, economics and engineering, may use the same books that were used 30 years ago when I got my degree. So it's very important again that you share this message with education institution, and clearly that you share also with company and international agency. We work as Enel Foundation to support 2 of the largest international agencies in energy, being the GYEO and IRENA. And it's very important. My dream I've shared with Ellen Watts and other colleagues in the youth, organization. My wish is that a report like that becomes a chapter of the World Energy Outlook made by the International Energy Agency, or a chapter of the Renewable Outlook made by IRENA, because it's not only important that you publish, we need to push it farther up to make people aware of what you're saying. So let me finish by saying that we'll be more than happy to grow this venture bigger, looking to have deeper analysis, more international outreach, as our friend from the north of Europe were saying. Denmark is not exactly like Sicily, where I was born, first of all, in terms of languages, but many other different in cultures. And I would love to see the next edition of this document with more youth brought in. And then, as I said, the goal for me, I mean, the goal that I suggest you is to find a space, try to find a space also with our help in big publication that everybody reads every time. What are you doing with that? Okay, sorry, I was reading one comment. So congratulations, and let's look at next step if you wish, together with Enel Foundation and myself and also my younger colleagues on the call. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Papa, for joining us today and for your support throughout the process of this report. And to all of our colleagues at Enel Foundation, it's been so great. Nicolo, Maria, Laura, it's been incredible to have your support in the process of finalizing the report. Next, I'll just share what's next for us as we get close to the end of the event today. I will share my screen one more time. All right, so what's next for the Outlook for student energy? First, on the Outlook itself. So how can you engage with this report and with this project? We encourage you to first check out the report, download it from studentenergyoutlook.org, see how it resonates with your areas of work, and try to incorporate it into your meetings, reports, and strategic plans. We really think research and reports like this are only as valuable as the people that read them and the people that relate them to their own lives and their own work. So we encourage you to download it and see how it might relate to what you're working on at the moment. And how can you do this? Well, to hopefully facilitate this project, we've made 2 action toolkits. These are also available on the website alongside the report. These are complementary accompanying documents that kind of navigate you through the report, how to read it effectively, what are some key stats that everyone should know, and how you can share this with various stakeholders in your workplace or in your personal lives. There is an action toolkit targeted towards youth. This includes everything from meeting agendas on how to present the Outlook at an in-person or Zoom meeting, how to present it when you're advocating for climate action, and this is targeted very much towards youth climate advocates. There's also an action toolkit for governments and industry. So this action toolkit is for institutions who are trying to understand, okay, how can I use the Outlook to accelerate climate action in my company, in my department? And this toolkit walks you through the various sections of the Outlook, key statistics to know, and also various ways to engage with young people, whether that's presenting the Outlook at a staff meeting or a lunch and learn, or inviting young people to be part of decision-making processes using the Outlook as sort of a starting point or a bridge. We hope these 2 action toolkits will help kind of bring to life the Outlook report that young people have been developing. And we also encourage you to create an implementation plan and really amplify the perspectives of youth who have contributed to this report. These implementation plans, I think, are what mobilize research into actionable outcomes. So if you're unsure how to do that or you want to brainstorm, we're always available at Student Energy to help you take the next steps on how you can share this work or build off of this to amplify your own work. So yeah, we're really excited for this to be the celebration of many years of work, but hopefully also the start of many more years of using these findings as a launch pad for future work. We will also share some of the other work that we're doing at Student Energy under our research and youth engagement portfolio, just to give you an idea of where we're taking this work, where we've already taken this work, with the Outlook being our very first research project. So I will turn it over to Arisha next to talk about some of our projects that have just been released or that we're working on currently.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see everybody in this call and celebrating the launch of the Global Youth Energy Outlook. And so, yeah, as everybody has said, this has kind of birthed this inspiration to create research and youth engagement. And so far, we have underwent 2 research projects, the first being the Energy Transition Skills Project. So basically, the idea is to explore the global skills gap and growing workforce that needs to be addressed by investing in young people. And that was within partnership with Ørsted. And the project surveyed around young people from the ages of 18 and 35 to understand what their priorities are in their careers and what barriers they face in accessing careers in the energy transition. And understanding those perspectives did inform the report into the insights and recommendations for energy companies, young people, and other stakeholders to advance the youth skill development and employment and energy transition. So that's the first project. Or it was in tandem with the other project we were actually working on, which is the Youth Impact Framework. So that happened, like, actually the idea was in 2022. So Student Energy and Global Covenant of Mayors in Climate and Energy and the University of Melbourne actually partnered to develop something called the Youth Impact Framework, or the framework. So what happened was it went under another literature review and found out the tool with 15 outcomes and indicators to measure the impacts of youth-led projects that goes across the world, and to also understand how we can measure and communicate their impacts with all levels of government, industry leaders, and how can decision makers and governments and big organizations understand their tangible contributions for climate and energy. So some indicators we found were GHG emission reductions or green jobs created, or even increased civic engagement of youth. And so the idea of the menu of the 15 selected impacts kind of represents some of the most urgent actions that are needed to accelerate the energy transition and climate action. So that was the second one. And currently we are also working on something called the Net Zero Action Campaign. And so this is a very new project that we're still undergoing with a literature review, and it's in its preliminary stages. And we're trying to find and create an evidence-based accessible menu of actions focusing on awareness building and enthusiasm for building a more effective net zero solutions at the household, university, community scales, so that youth can use that toolkit to kind of mobilize in their own communities for net zero. So it could be advocating for improved systems-wide energy efficiency and conservation, and to implementing true energy policies that come with multiple co-benefits. So those are some of the things that are happening on the research and youth engagement end. And I will pass it over to Shakti. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Arisha. And Arisha has been so instrumental in leading many of these research projects. So if you are interested in getting in touch with our research team with any further questions or future opportunities, we do encourage you to email us. You can email me or Arisha directly, or research@studentenergy.org. We're always happy to share what we're up to and how you can get involved. Next, I'll share another opportunity that is currently open for young people, and I'll invite Grace to unmute and share a little bit about the Student Energy Summit if you're able to.
Thanks, Shakti. Awesome. So it's really great to be able to share some updates around this really exciting event that we have coming up. You might have seen some announcements about our International Student Energy Summit on social media, or maybe in some other youth networks that you're a part of. But I'm excited today to provide you with a little bit more information. The theme of our summit that is happening alongside COP28 in the UAE this November is Reimagining the Future, and it's being led by a team of incredible students based out of the UAE. They're a team of international students who all are attending New York University, Abu Dhabi. Next slide, please.
Oops.
Oh, sorry, it was just a little frozen on my end. I thought it had.
There we go. We're all still in the set slide, no worries.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so the main update that I will share in the chat as well is that we have our applications are still open. We will be sending out the second round of acceptances for delegates to attend the summit by the end of this week, but definitely no worries. There's still tons of time to apply if you haven't so far. The apps are open until June 30th. As I mentioned, I'll drop that link in the chat, but following CES 2023, following at Student Energy 2023 on Instagram and Twitter, as well as Student Energy's LinkedIn, is a great way to stay updated on when our acceptances are rolling out again, and application and delegate relations information as well. You can also sign up to our newsletter where you'll receive exclusive updates on programming and helpful tips for self-funding and attending the summit if you are accepted as a delegate. Again, I will drop all of those links in the chat. But if you do have any specific questions about the application and how to complete it and the information we're looking for, we hosted an event about 2 weeks ago around filling out the application and specifically why we asked certain questions. So that recording is available, and I can also make sure to share that with anybody that's interested on this call. I will drop my email in the chat, and you can feel free to reach out if that's information that you're interested in looking for. And we also have many opportunities in the next few weeks for applicants and delegates to apply to receive funding through various competitions that we're going to be launching. So if you're interested in things like public speaking and essay writing, there'll be a few more video competitions as well. There's tons of opportunities to win a fully funded ticket to the summit. So definitely stay tuned and follow all of our channels to learn more about when those are launching and how you can get involved. And hopefully we will see you all in Abu Dhabi in November.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Grace. We really do encourage you to apply to SETH. It is a major opportunity to connect with young people around the world. So please do take advantage and apply. We'd love to see you there. And with that, we're nearing the end of our event. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us today. It's been so lovely to see folks engaging in the chat and to be able to launch this project together after so many years of work. A big thank you to our regional coordinators for their work throughout the past 3 years leading this project and for sharing some of their valuable reflections today. Thank you also to Dr. Papa for joining us for the call, and to all of the team members from Enel Foundation for being such a great champion of this work over the past years. And I also do want to thank some of our core team student energy members who weren't able to join us on the call today or who have worked on this project over the years. Your support really has made this project incredible. For all of the design work and the analysis that you see in the report, a big shout out to Greta Jang, Megan Tran, Eilette, Terrace. All of your contributions were instrumental in creating and packaging up this report so that it is easy for folks to read. And a big thank you to our research and review team from Helen for kicking off of this project, to Lindsay, Abdullah, Jade for all of your work throughout the past years to developing the report to where it got to be. So I'll leave you with our email and our website. We do encourage you to reach out with any questions you might have. Also feel free to DM us on social media. We are always listening, and we really look forward to hearing from you. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. We'll stay on for a minute or so as folks leave, so feel free to also drop comments in the chat if you would like. But thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Papa. Thanks, everyone.